not looking.
Why are they still on?
I can hear the windows.
We got in just in time.
Yeah, there's
Yeah, I
a
can
little
hear the
lightning over
windows
there.
creaking.
Yeah, they don't back in.
Yeah, wow.
I call the June 13th, 2022.
There's those
Beechwood
wheelie things
Independent
out there.
School Board meeting to order. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's yours half over.
You take roll call.
All right, you ready?
Yep.
Mrs. Berger? Here. Dr. Savignano?
Here.
Mrs. Slate?
Here.
Ms. Stricker? Mrs.
Here.
Sullivan?
Here. Okay, okay, we have no recognition of guests.
No recognition.
Anybody, any public comments?
No, nothing's.
Nobody signed up.
Okay, so on to the discussion and action agenda. There'll be the first reading of the updated policies and procedures. We do not need to take a vote on this.
We do not. A couple of things just to point out. Senate Bill 1 reflects in the new policies about the superintendent having some guidance over curriculum and principal hire. If you want to make sure you review that for the second reading. Another one that has kind of been gained some traction as far as discussions with board is the school resource officer, one at each building. Seeing how we're all connected, that does not affect us. One resource officer is sufficient for everything that we have. Currently, our updates to 563 are going to maintain our current procedures. We already have a procedure around accepting students from the outside. The one thing that we are going to have to clarify in our procedures is our entry, how you gain entrance, and specifically identifying what space means. Those will be in our administrative procedures after you approve the said policies. Outside of that, please, if there's any questions you have, I'll be more than happy to entertain those now.
When is the timing that it'll become official?
July 1.
So, since our process is about over anyway, I mean, how does that affect the coming year?
So the way Jeremy is here and can answer this as well. We've also talked to KHSAA. The question is, how does 563 affect us for this year's incoming group? The way we interpret it, since all action from the legislature, unless it has an emergency clause, takes effect July 1. The only emergency clause that accompanied anything that really was Senate Bill 1 had a piece that had an emergency clause in it. 563 had no emergency clause. So the way we currently interpret any of our tuition students, as long as they are fully enrolled before July 1, it will not impact this year's group. So that is our interpretation. That is our attorneys.
I agree with that. That's what I'm hearing everywhere.
Yeah. Now, what we'll have to do is have procedures that fit the policy for next year's tuition group. That will change our tuition process some, and it'll also put us in a spot that if that one sentence isn't repealed, any tuition student, anybody who transfers to a school that's not a transfer of residency will be ineligible for 1 year. KHSAA has adamantly disagreed with that since the onset. They already have a policy for transfers, and that is around if you have played varsity in a sport, you must sit out a year.
But they're saying all sports?
The way it's currently written and interpreted, that would go all the way down to elementary cross country. If you literally transfer to a school and you don't transfer a residency, you'll be ineligible for 1 year. Now, immediately I called and said, surely to goodness, you're not talking about middle school, elementary, freshmen, and they're like, Mike, we adamantly disagree. We'll address it the next session, which we can address it in January. But as it is currently written, the KHSAA's attorney, every other attorney I've talked to, it gives no leeway. So I think we've, huh?
It doesn't distinguish.
It does not distinguish. And it also doesn't distinguish, but it gives no oversight of who would be responsible for overseeing said elementary kid not running cross-country. So I think common sense will prevail in the next legislative cycle. We've already pointed it out to our local legislators, and I think superintendents across the state are doing the same. However, we have a couple that are adamant and then infighting in some different parts of the state. So we'll have to work our way through that a little bit.
There's still a chance it might come out, though?
It is in law of July 1. So unless we get that law adjusted
Right.
in the legislative session next year, it would impact every tuition kid that we have all the way down to kindergarten.
Okay.
But I honestly can't believe that was their intent. So, you know, there's a lot of cleanup on just about every bill that's ever put into law. So that'll be our push to have that language cleaned up. I think KHSAA will lead that push because they don't have the manpower to even begin to have oversight. And I know they're not going to want X school calling over elementary or middle school, or that's just never been anything that they have oversight of.
Oh, wow.
So that is a hiccup. Also, we will have to determine class size. I'll put that on our thoughts on board retreat, what that looks like for us. I think we write that pretty small. You know, that's my recommendation. We've relatively cut out tuition in the elementary school unless we dip down to where we would have to cut a teacher. You know, I would like to kind of maintain that flexibility because if not, we get in a lot of trouble potentially later on in high school when we actually have people moving in.
Okay.
Any other questions? Like I said, if there's something that comes up, don't hesitate to give me a call to ask before that second reading. The charters, I should probably also mention charter school authorization that will affect Kenton County. I'm not sure what that looks like. I did bring up at superintendent's retreat in Northern Kentucky, I would love to put in a request to expand RSP, the regional school, alternative school, to include some more special ed and expanded services in those areas. I think it would qualify as a charter. So that would be one that we wouldn't mind exploring, that I think that could actually be a benefit to everybody engaged. And that's the way I kind of try to approach it, is trying to find an angle where it can be a win-win. We have a growing number of autistic students in Northern Kentucky. We don't have an autistic agency to help support or a program to help support. Lexington has one, Louisville has one, Northern Kentucky does not have one. So that's one area of one example that could have benefited us through this aspect. Outside of that, if somebody just opens a traditional charter, you know,
Did they figure out if the authorizing agency is going to be the board in that district, or is it going to be another agency?
it would not be the board. It will either be the way it's written, Northern Kentucky, or a mix of district level leaders. That was
But they
never
haven't
really
even put that
clearly
together?
defined.
And when do they expect that to go into effect?
July 1.
But they don't have a agency in place.
They haven't named, no one has submitted and tried to name an agency.
Okay, that doesn't make sense.
Nope.
You can't,
Right.
Doesn't make sense? So when you submit the application, if Northern Kentucky doesn't accept to be the authorizer, then the charter school agency would have to, the way it's put, come up with a group of district leaders, regional district leaders, to work together to be the authorizer and provide oversight. It doesn't specify whether, and help me out, it doesn't specify whether that is district admin, district board. It just said,
Elected, unelected, employees, non-employees, it's very poorly defined. Well, it's not defined.
it is not defined. So we've all
That
brought
doesn't
up
make sense.
questions about
Yeah.
that. I mean, the reality is, I don't think Northern would be listed if Northern didn't have some kind of agreement to be an authorizer. I may be wrong. If I am, I'll apologize, but I think that's the way it'll end up. If not, then I have absolutely no idea. It would be up to, the way it reads to me, it would be up to the charter application to seek out and name their own authorizers.
And what's the other, what about the other county in Kentucky that was also?
JCPS.
Yes, what are they doing? Who's their agency? Or-
What did it list for JPS? I think the board has, the Board of Education must author, they were
So-
mandated to authorize. Yeah.
So why is it different up here?
Well, because it had 4 different, I mean, in Kenton County, five different school sites? Yeah.
So they couldn't.
They couldn't mandate one board over another board.
Doesn't really make sense.
Well, they have a funding issue
Mhm.
with a non-public school entity spending public school funds without the ability to go out and grant it.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was not clearly defined. If Northern Kentucky doesn't become the authorizer, it was not clearly defined. Either way, I do not consider a charter school a threat to our average population. Most people aren't moving into Fort Mitchell and then looking for an alternate site to go to school. So
Okay.
outside of that, I mean, those are kind of the big talking items. If there's anything else that you all see, just don't hesitate to give me a call.
Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda. I'll take a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make the motion to approve the consent agenda as is.
Second. Okay, a couple of things to point out that are a little different. I did ask Chrissy to adjust the mileage reimbursement rate with gas prices as high as they are. Our recommendation is a 0.49. That is the state recommendation, so we're just mirroring the state recommendation. I do always try to tell you when we're backwards on something. The overnight trip to Transylvania for the boys basketball team has already occurred. They were late again on their request. We continue to work on that and try to become better. J, the pledge collateral agreement. That's just a depository agreement with our local bank that we approved last month with Heritage. SSR funds, that's the school safety. Brian accessed those funds for radios. It did not encompass our full amount that we could request, so he submitted a second request for the PA system. So that's that. And then L, a recommendation for insurance renewals. Number 1, a recommendation is to stay with Liberty for property and general liability. That did go up, like everything else seems to go up right now. We did adjust our deductible from $5,000 to $10,000 to offset that cost. Number 2, workman's comp recommendation is Kimmy. That's who we currently have, and it's the first thing that I can say all year that actually went down. So our workman's comp insurance is reduced from last year. And then number 3, my recommendation is not to renew the cyber insurance for cost savings measure for this coming year. And then N, that is not surplus in dollars. You are surplusing all of the old items from the 1927, 33, 36, 58, and 74 buildings. So that, we have several things that we either need other people to come get or need to move off campus. Any other questions?
No?
Okay, we'll take a vote.
Ready? Mrs. Berger?
Yes.
Dr. Salviniano?
Yes.
Mrs. Slate?
Yes.
Ms. Stricker?
Yes.
Mrs. Sullivan?
Yes. Okay, on to superintendent report.
Yeah, June's a really light month. Typically, I mean, honestly, we probably would not have a meeting in June if it wasn't a legal requirement for us to share our financials. So I don't have anything other than I would like to update you on just the phase of construction That's going to be kind of what's on everybody's mind. Wednesday morning will be the first hit into the old building unless magic happens tomorrow. So right now, we're planning to start Wednesday morning. It will start on the high school side, and it'll work across the span of the building. It'll probably be about 4 to 5 days for tear down, and then you'll be looking at 2 weeks for all the removal of all the debris. So that's going to be kind of the first group. The second thing that you all need to know, we will have to shut down Beechwood Road for probably 24 hours to cut across about right where the crosswalk is. The gas goes out and the main power goes out and runs under the road. And even though everything's disconnected, we still have to dig up, or not, they still have to dig up and permanently, I mean, I disconnect those two spots, just in case some spark or something crazy doesn't happen. So there'll be about a 24-hour period. I know we'll get some complaints, but it'll be our first kind of test of you know, the emergency management system for, probably shouldn't make that joke tonight. But that'll be kind of our first test of, you know, the community being able to look over a couple of things. That'll be about a 24-hour, just one day, should be in, should be out, as long as nothing happens.
What is that timing? When is it?
Probably tomorrow or the next day, it depends on the city, when they give it the final thumbs up.
Are we
Will
gonna
the
send
city
communication out?
communicate?
Yeah, we're asking the same question. How's that gonna be communicated?
Now, as soon as we get it, we'll blast it out on just about every form that we can possibly get.
And can you call the city and ask them to put it on their website as well,
Yes, ma'am.
so they know?
The building can't start until that happens.
Sure.
If they can disconnect it in some other way, then obviously they're looking to do that. But if that doesn't happen, we're delayed. So I think it'll be pretty quick. I can't communicate it though until they definitely give me the thumbs up. All right, so 4 to 5 days for tear down, 2+ weeks for takeout. Once the takeout happens, then they'll bring in the dirt removal and we'll start going down. Once we go down, then they'll secure the wall at the back of the band room and the restrooms. And then that's when steel will hit. From start to finish, we're looking at that process right there, we're looking at about 7 weeks' time. So our goal is to get it reinforced and the fencing up in the way it needs to happen before anybody steps foot back on campus in August. I mean, it's a tight
That's an aggressive,
timeline.
yeah.
It's a tight timeline. We are going to save some brick. I know several people in the community have asked. We will be saving some brick for that, and we will be saving some brick for the conference room and that design element of putting that back. So if anybody, I don't know, Melanie, have you all talked about that at alumni at all?
Yeah, the alumni are planning to do that as a small fundraiser. They're not gonna be very expensive, but we're either gonna put Beechwood or tire power cupola. We're working on the design. Kelly Burns is planning to do it, and he's gonna do a couple prototypes for us to see.
Okay. Well, I did pass along, because I don't think the construction company knew to save some other than what we needed. So I did pass along to make sure they give us some time at the end of the 4 nights to be able to have some of the kids go out, workers and maintenance go out and stack some of that up. So that's kind of the summer plans. It's very important that we stay on pace for the summer, because if we don't stay on the pace in the summer and we don't get the building secure, then we won't be able to come back in.
I did notice for the parade that you have people, they're gonna be coming here as the end. So is that gonna be available to do that?
Shouldn't be a problem.
Okay.
I mean, because typically they only turn in the elementary and either circle out, and one year I know we let them go all the way up the hill into Kroger. that shouldn't be a problem. They won't be working on July the 4th. We'll have it secured. They'll be able to run through it. Any other? I mean, I'll keep you posted. I did decide to get out of town for 1 week, so Brian and I are going to offset, so somebody will be here the whole time. I typically take 2. I will not be taking 2. This just not going to work. So I'll probably request a fall break to be off site during fall break. And if anything else pops up, you get any calls from the community, I mean, just forward them to me, and we'll be as receptive as we can through the process.
So have they found any surprises why they've been working to dismantle things?
Knock on wood, we have not found any
Okay, good.
surprises.
That's good to hear.
Yeah. I think we would find many more surprises on a renovation project as opposed to a tear down, but you never know.
Yeah.
I mean, we've
Well,
done the
these old
soil
buildings-
samples, but you never know. I mean, and we do have to keep the look from the front. We will have to go down. So, I mean, hopefully we don't hit any major rock deposits. But that was the only way to keep the visual from the front and have an auditorium, was to go down.
Okay.
All right, so anything, just pass it along. And did you have anything on the financial?
No, I mean, really, we're really aligned with the budget, so I think we're looking good in the forecast, so.
Okay.
Okay, anybody have anything else that they'd like to? I have one thing. I'd like to wish Mrs. Sleet a happy birthday.
Welcome to the club.
Best place to spend it at the board meeting.
What could be better?
Anybody have anything else?
Nope.
What's the date of the board retreat?
Well, that, I put out, like, just 2 initial, I think Lori sent out.
Yeah.
2 initial dates. If those don't work, then we need to get on it. It's, hold on.
Make sure I get it on my calendar.
Friday, July the 8th, or we could kind of do a combo, either early, I mean, I know we have a board meeting on July the 11th, but we could do a combo and just come in for the afternoon on July the 11th and stay for the board meeting. We could do it the 8th. Or if you want to have it, like, if it's really pressing, we can do it, next week.
I'll be out of town next week.
Oh, can't do it next week?
Either of those 2 dates works for me.
Okay,
I think either works for me, let me double check.
The 8th is fine for me.
all right, the 8th, okay. The 8th work for
Looks like it does.
8th? Okay, I'll find a spot and we'll set a time and I'll get that information out to you. That'd be good, because I would like to have it before the admin retreat, and the admin retreat is the 12th, 13th, and 14th, so that'd be great. Okay, I'll get the details out to you.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Okay, anything else? Okay, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
I'll second.